Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are back in War Thunder and we're driving the KV-1S. Now I'm squatted up here with Rex and Cards was enjoying the 420 holiday a little bit too much, so instead of putting us into the events to complete the challenges, well, we were stuck in a normal realistic battle. If you want to know a little bit about the KV-1S, it's an interesting vehicle. It was started to be produced in the middle of 1942, but it seems like most tank crews and tank officers generally didn't like it. There is a few interesting quotes from General M.E. Katukov where he basically talked to Stalin in 1942 that a KV should have a more potent gun than a T-34 to try and make it more, at least some kind of use compared to a T-34. Because in his mind, and a lot of others, the T-34-76 could do exactly what a KV ZIS-5 could do, which also includes a KV-1S ZIS-5. Generally, the tank crews did prefer the T-34-76s, and when the T-34-85s came around, stuff like the KV-1S's fate was completely sealed. The only real action it properly saw was in 1943 at Kursk, where during the 12th to the 14th of July, it helped break the main thrust of the German offensive. But after that, it was just allocated to support duties. If you want to learn more about the KV-1S, well, there's a link in the description. Back to the battle. So, we are playing Allies versus Axis. It is Russian, American, and British versus Japanese and German. I go to my favorite spot on Mozdok, which is on the right side of the center point. It's this little hill where you can actually see over to the right side points where the general enemies will sit. You get decent cover if you have good turret armor from this position, since all you have to do is poke your head out. You don't have to worry about gun depression, so it works very well for Russian tanks, and if anybody comes over that hill, well, you just keep bopping them with your gun. If you have a decent fast fire rate, you should be able to hurt them. If the color scheme, the purple and green, you don't like so much, please let me know so I can change it to something a little bit better. I did get a message from a few people who said they struggled with the red and blue colors, so I'd like to change it, but if the purple and green is a bit too garish, please let me know. So as you can see from this position, all we have to do is keep this hill between us and the people who are sat on that hill while we pick off targets who are pushing forward. That's all we have to do. The KV-1S does have quite a large weak point, which is that slight little front plate on the front of it, basically where the driver is, and also the turrets can be penned quite easily. It is a little bit bouncy. So the main thing you've got to hide in the KV-1S is the hull armor. So a position like this, where we can just keep shooting and people can shoot us in the turret, we are completely fine with. And we're able to take them apart. That Stug actually killed himself. I took out his gun breech, and even though the shot fired, he wasn't able to not knock out his crew. His shot did land though, which is very surprising. So as you can see, one of the issues with the KV-1S is generally it has a little bit less turret armor than some of its compatriots in the KV-1s, so people can shoot straight through you, which isn't too bad as long as they hit the breach. If they hit more where the gunner is, then they're gonna knock out everything in your tank, especially if what's shooting you is a long-barreled 75. We stay in this position because the targets still keep racking up. They're just sat there, not doing anything. The best thing to do if you're German or Japanese right now is get off this hill. You don't go forward, you go back. You don't crest the hill, you go back, because you are pinned down from every position. And now, since the wall of flames and fire and smoke has been shown to me and I don't see any more targets, it's time to charge. Now, the one great thing about the KV-1S over the other KV-1s in game, it has a similar gun, less armor, but great speed. As you saw, just going down that little hill and going up this slight incline as well, we're able to have a very good speed of around 30 kilometers an hour in realistic to get between the points on Mozdok, get down into this gully where the Germans should have been in the first place and they should have gone around instead of on the hill and sat there. So at this point we have basically won the battle, not just single-handedly from the help of our team, but also mainly down to the Germans getting stuck at this point when they should have moved on. So we've had quite a nice little shooting range right now, so why not just keep going? Let's see if we can actually get a Heavy Metal Fury. A Heavy Metal Fury in game is 10 kills in a ground forces match. It doesn't have to be just in one tank or one aircraft. It can be spread out over many, so let's say you get 6 kills in one tank, then you spawn in another and get a 4, you still get Heavy Metal Fury, which is very nice. So we're moving up now to basically just look at their spawn. One of the issues that Mozdok has is that the spawns are incredibly open, even though over the years they've tried to add these little hills and stuff in front of them. If you remember the first map of Mozdok that came out, basically the 2 spawn points were on massive flat ground, and you could actually sit in the forest maybe 2 kilometers away from the spawn and see into the spawn. It was ridiculous. But at least now, it's, you know, there's some rocks, there's some little hills that you can hide behind. It's a little bit better. But if your team stomps as hard as my team does, it's hard to get out of the spawn. And I've been on both sides of these situations here, and when you're the enemy team, so the Germans or the Japanese right now, what you're looking for is to maybe score a few kills, maybe go in an aircraft just to see what you can do. But that's really about it. You're not really looking to win the match. The match is basically over. So we crest the hill and see something very worrying. That is an 88mm truck. Sometimes the bane of my existence, especially in something like a KV-1S. So we take out the barrel straight away, making it completely useless. Don't worry about the AA that's shooting us, because it can't really pen us. And now the 88 doesn't have a gun, so we can just finish it off, which is lovely. The 76 on this KV-1S does get the hull brake mechanic in its favor. I'm still trying to work out exactly how the hull brake mechanic works when it comes to machines. I think they've toned it down a little bit when it comes to shells which are APHE and APCBC with HE filler. But yeah, the Germans are once again fish in a barrel. It's very sad, but well, it happens. We've taken out a Marder which could have definitely penned us. This lad here is trying his best to take us out, and he actually does set us on fire. We have pushed forward pretty far here, which means that we are finally taken out. But does that mean that the Germans and the Japanese get some respite? No. We have the IL-2 with the beautiful winter camouflage. This is the 1942 version of the IL-2, so slightly better than the IL-2 1941, but it doesn't have that tail gunner, one of the key differences between some of the later models of the IL-2 and this one, something that it is sadly missing from it. It also struggles after turning once, but we're lining up targets here. We have bombs and rockets, 4 rockets in tow, and also some quite devastating large cannons. So we take some shots at this flak truck, and he's gone. So we killed at least 2 crew there, probably 3, just gunning him down with our cannons, and we swoop around because we're on 9 kills now, looking for that Heavy Metal Fury. Another enemy tank gets taken out. Panzer IV F2 ready to go. Shoot him with some cannons, annoy him a little bit, and hit him in the side with some rockets. That is 10 kills. And this was the only realistic battle we actually played today, apart from the event stuff, where you had to start off spawning in the T-34. And I think this illustrates why you only are allowed to spawn in the T-34 instead of the KV-1S, whereas the KV-1S you need to get spawn points, because if everyone was in these KV-1Ss, well, let's just say it would be a bit of a stomp, just because of the extra armor and the fact that the gun is exactly the same on the KV-1S and the T-34. So even though in real life the KV-1S didn't really have a place, or was not part of the heart of many Russian tankers, it definitely in War Thunder has a little special place in my heart, since it has maneuverability, a little bit of armor, and a decent gun. It's very similar to the T-34-76. It depends what you want to trade off. Do you want to trade off armor or speed? And for me at this level, I like a little bit of armor. I like a little bit of bouncing power. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.